Good morning, everyone. Thanks for connecting. My name is Nick Polini, and I am with the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit. And I want to shout out a special thanks to Northwest PA Job Connect. That's our local workforce development board. We wouldn't be able to have connections like this if it wasn't for our local workforce development board. Today with us, we have Carly Cox, who is with U.S. Steel. And this partnership we're super excited about because it's been growing exponentially. But I'm going to send Carly live here, and we're going to kick it off with some questions. I'm going to ask Carly some questions for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for questions from all of you in the audience. So, Carly, I'm going to send you live. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Carly Cox, CPSM, Global Procurement and Operations Services. Tell us a little bit about that. What's that?
Yeah, so first of all, hi everybody. I'm happy to be here speaking with you all. Like Nick said, Carly Cox, U.S. Steel. I am in global procurement, managing operating services. So what does that all mean? U.S. Steel, first of all, is a steel manufacturer. We produce flat rolled steel for construction, automotive, so any of your cars may have some of our steel, and if you have Whirlpool, GE, what have you, appliances, then that could be our steel as well. Operating services really are pretty glamorous things like our in-plant trucking contracts, our steel slab hauling. We have a lot of waste that comes out of our process, so I would also manage our contractors who manage that kind of process. So a lot of dirty, hands-on kind of stuff.
So that's really cool. So you guys actually make steel. You don't actually, and you sell it to other companies. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we call it from rocks to docks. We are kind of vertically integrated. So we start off with our coke making process at Clairton. And then we have iron ore mining operations in Minnesota. So we take all of that, throw it into the blast furnace. I manage our operations, our operating services for our ET operations like you might see in Pittsburgh. So we throw it all in the blast furnace, put it through the iron and steel making process. And at the end of the day, we end up with steel coils that we then ship from the docks to our customers.
Okay. So let me back up there for those of us that maybe I'm asking for somebody else. But you said you throw a whole bunch of coke and some iron ore together. What can you break that down? What is that?
Ooh, I'll try. So really, it's taking the iron and then adding in the carbon from the coke. We start with coal, I guess, really backing it up, coal that we get from mines around the area too. And, we add different fluxes. It's above my pay grade to know all that stuff. But essentially, we have the burden, which is those many different components. Some other items that I manage, like our waste streams, we try to recycle those as much as possible. So we'll introduce those as well into the blast furnace. And what comes out is all of the iron, and then we take that to the steel shop where more additions are introduced that actually produce the steel that we know and love.
Okay, so your role is specifically, tell us specifically about your role as a CPSM. Can you talk about what is that?
So where I come into that is selecting the contractors, selecting the suppliers who do the work for us that we contract out. So I negotiate the contracts for our trucking suppliers who are trucking material from one plant to another, trucking materials to different landfills, actually recycling the materials and producing something that we can put into our furnaces, managing the waste streams. So all of that would be where I come into the process, the actual vendor selections.
I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. So give us an example of somebody who might buy steel from U.S. Steel.
Sure. So kind of a cool example that I saw recently in the Tesla Model 3s. Apparently, a portion of their chassis, it is steel, whereas a lot of the other Tesla models, I believe, are aluminum. They still have steel components. We work with Jeep. The Jeep Gladiator, I believe, uses our high-strength steels. Like I said, if you have a Whirlpool or GE appliance, one of them, I believe we are 100% supplier to them as well.
So there's different grades and different qualities of steel that somebody might use in a washer or dryer as compared to a vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a chance when I first started in 2017 to go to our Mon Valley facilities and meet with everybody and anybody from operations to quality assurance. And in quality assurance, they showed us we have a laundry list of steel grades that we can produce. I think we produce a very small portion of that because of lessons learned or what our customers want, but we produce we could at least maybe produce at least like 100 steel grades. Don't quote me, but it's something, it's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's something that most people don't think of. They think steel is just steel, but there's different qualities. It's high strength, et cetera, et cetera. So exactly. in your role, so you're dealing a lot about what contracts of trucking and things like that. What's your biggest responsibility associated with your title?
So I would say biggest responsibility is ensuring that we get the right goods and services to our plants at the most optimal cost. So we get involved in my department with cost savings projects, and that's pretty big, especially at a time like now when everybody's feeling the heat from COVID-related business conditions and the challenges. So it's a lot about balancing cost and quality to get our plant operators what they need to continue working.
Okay, so you need to make sure. So you have to be very detail oriented in your position.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. What other interests or abilities do you have to work in your specific position?
So data analysis is really huge. Being able to take sometimes very messy data and turn it into a story that you can tell to sell a project or to problem solve. So with that also, you have to be pretty interested in some creative problem solving at times. Going back to the drawing board, persevering. If one thing doesn't work because we have such a dynamic process as a company, where can you pivot to find another solution to look at? So a lot of data analysis, a lot of also, interacting with others, being able to credibly communicate your position, hear people out. Like I said, again, it's a very dynamic process. So a lot of people involved, a lot of moving parts involved. So taking all of that and really making something out of it.
So is that something, what do you value the most about the position and the work that you do? What do you get?
I value the way that even in my department, we can see the impact that we have for the company, very directly. We, like I said, with cost savings projects, we see the fruits of our labor on our financial statements. We see it in being able to help keep our plants operating, especially at a time like this. When I was an intern in 2016, I worked on cost savings projects that I didn't think that I would ever be able to touch at my age. And I think that's really cool. I value the kind of responsibility that we have coming into our roles, straight out of the gate. So there's a lot, but I would say, those are the biggest.
So in terms of cost savings and in your role, and you talked a little bit about that data, I want you to expand a little bit on that data. So you might take a whole bunch of messy data and extrapolate or break down that data and make predictions, or to be able to say, this is the way we should do this because it's going to save us money?
Correct. So it's, taking say if we have sludge, sludge is something that I get to work with in my day-to-day now. We, for example, may look at projects to help draw the water out of that more to make it easier to work with. So it's, it's not just taking data around the financials or, pieces of equipment. It's taking the data around where we can, with the input from environmental, with the input from engineering, suppliers, to understand where we could actually get the moisture content to be, what kind of equipment would get us there, and do sensitivity analyses to understand, is there the cost benefit? So it's drawing from a lot, and it can be many different sources. Another one, gate swipes at our facilities and understanding how long a contractor is in our plant. We get into GPS now too, so.
What's GPS? You mean like global positioning?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. So for our, we have vacuum truck services at some of our facilities where a truck is literally going around and vacuuming things up off the ground. And we've been able to install GPS on the trucks to more effectively track them and make better decisions around how we're contracting the work.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nice segue into our next question. Then you're talking about all this data and things along those lines. Are there any specific skills or tools that maybe if is most of your work done on a computer? What would you say for somebody in your role? What should you be?
Mm-hmm.
What should you be fluent?
Sure. So a lot of Excel, a lot of, we started using Tableau, which is another kind of data management tool software. It's a lot of that, a lot of getting into spreadsheets constantly. The data analysis, being able to, sometimes you have to do the math on the fly too. So Excel isn't always the perfect solution. So there's that too. I would say, we do have a lot of engineers in our department, and being able to talk the talk there helps a lot. Yeah, I would say those are the biggest.
So you do quite a bit of your work on computers, but would you say your role was more independent or team centered, or?
So we are definitely team centered in the respect that I manage our activity for our Pittsburgh area plants, but we have facilities in the US. We also have facilities in Slovakia, in Central Europe. On my team, I work with other individuals who manage our activity for the other plants. So we have plants in Indiana, in Illinois, in Alabama. So we're broken up that way, but our work itself is kind of more independent. We all try to collaborate, share ideas. Sometimes we have common contracts across multiple facilities, but at the end of the day, a lot of what we do and a lot of what we're driving is independent for the plants that we manage.
I see. So what are some of those, whenever you interact with team members, what are some of those essential skills, aka soft skills, that you find are imperative for somebody in your role, or very important in your role?
I think it's really important to be able to, listen and hear people out when they're sharing their ideas. We do work in a high stakes environment sometimes where we are literally affecting the operations of a steel mill. So it's a lot of, being able to hear somebody out, actively listening to them, taking their ideas into account, really critically thinking about what the best solution is. Can you make some kind of best of both idea solution? Working with people to creatively problem solve. It's very, I would say we have all of this data analysis, but our job is very heavy in the soft skills too, because we do interact with so many people on a daily basis, and being able to craft a message, to be able to tell your story for what you've gotten out of the data, that's most important.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that this is a similar message to all the professionals that we're talking to, is that you have three types of resources. You have human resources, you have capital resources, and natural resources. And without a doubt, the most valuable are the human aspect to every business, any business.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, you said you had a certification. What does CPSM stand for?
Yeah, so CPSM is Certified Professional in Supply Management. So that's really, especially for me, that was helpful because I was a finance major in college. Working in the supply chain field and department, you get a lot of supply chain management majors. So the CPSM allowed me to build my foundation of supply management more effectively from an educational perspective, less on the job. So it's 3 exams, building up as you go in the different skills that are needed for supply management. And then after 3 years of professional experience, you can apply for the certification. So I was able to do that when I hit my 3-year mark earlier this year, actually. Yeah. Okay. So it certainly kind of helps build the skills and continue to build them because you have to continue to recertify.
So that supply management is not anything anybody could obtain without the experience that they have first.
I would say no, just based on how it's administered by the Institute for Supply Management, and based on how they've kind of stipulated all of the rules and regulations around it. Yeah, you have to have some kind of experience either in a direct field or an adjacent related field.
Okay. Is there any specific educational requirements for your position as a certified? Go ahead, you can talk about that.
Yeah, so for my particular job in procurement, we are required to have a 4-year degree. Like I said earlier, we do have people from engineering, we have industrial engineers, civil engineers. I was a finance major, so we have finance, accounting, supply management. So it's really 4-year degree would be that base requirement in some kind of business or engineering related field.
Very good, very good. So tell us, this is the fun stuff. So, in your years at U.S. Steel, is there something interesting or funny, or you were like, wow, I can't believe that actually just happened to me at U.S. Steel? Is there anything that comes to mind about that?
Yeah. So I don't have as many years as some of my colleagues do, so my stories are perhaps limited, but in my previous responsibilities, I didn't always manage these particular, we call them commodities. They're not true commodities, but that's kind of the moniker for them. I used to manage our sourcing activity for like the brick in your fireplace refractories, but much higher duty. And we have a subsidiary that we fully own in Slovakia, and they produce the same materials. They produce those materials for our plant there. My now Vice President, Chief Procurement Officer, will sometimes catch people off guard and will surprise you with some kind of opportunity that you don't think is going to happen ever. But one day he stopped me and said, "Do you have your passport?" And I said, "Yes, I do. Why?" And he said, "Some of us are going over to Slovakia. Stay tuned." And within a couple days, I ended up getting asked if I could go over on our corporate jet to our plant in Košice, Slovakia, with our now CFO, our Chief Information Officer, him, and another individual from my department. And I came back. It was only a couple days, but I came back and thought that was cool. Really great experience. Ended up sending me over there for 2 months after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'd say that's one of those things that I look back on and just, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah. I mean, and what were your thoughts of the Slovakia in the area? Yeah.
It's a very cool area. It's where we are is the 2nd largest city in the country. So Bratislava, the capital, would be the largest. It kind of felt like a Pittsburgh almost, but maybe better planned out, less steel mills, crowding the area way back when. But it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful place, and There is so much industry coming in there that it's cool to see, you know, how it's all developing alongside an industry like ours.
So one of the questions we always get from our staff, our audience, is that if somebody was interested in pursuing, you know, a career at U.S. Steel or even in supply management, what could they, what experience could they get in either high school or middle school? What could they start to explore to determine if they like this?
I think it's really, I'll be honest, when I came into, you know, when it was time to pick my major for college, I had no idea exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted the numbers background that I could apply to, you know, wherever I took myself. So if I think about maybe subconsciously the things that I got into when I was in high school or middle school that somebody now could take, a curiosity for always continuing to learn. I think we're a really big learning organization, and we value continuing to, you know, be curious, dig into the details, dig into additional educational opportunities. You know, if math was kind of a bigger one, but you know, with Excel, it's not so huge anymore. I feel like, you know, you can really adapt in that respect, but just being curious and thinking differently about the heavier industries that may be less thrilling to, say, tech or something like that. There's still a lot to do in steel, and in, you know, my profession, there's a lot of constant innovation, a lot of continuing to find better, cleaner ways to do things that, you know, keeping an open mind too is really valuable as you progress through the years.
That seems to be a common pattern of all the professionals we talk, is that you have to be continuously willing to learn and you keep an open mind. And that's how organizations like U.S. Steel and Tesla and everybody get to where they are, is that constant drive for people to want to grow their minds. So that's great advice. So what, if any, parting words would you give to a high school student at this point?
Whew. I guess I would circle back to what I just said and say, just keep being hungry to learn and learn new things. Stay curious. Something really big for me in this time of being remote and, you know, reaching out to people that I might not have previously within our company. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and, you know, putting yourself out there. It took me a long time to get there, and it took this to get me there, to really network and continue to grow my network and find those mentors or people that you can help, because anywhere you turn, really, someone is willing to help, and it's nothing to be ashamed of or scared of to reach out.
Yeah, we have a cheesy saying we use here: you're networking or you're not working. And
yeah, that's a good one.
Having that network of people to just reach out to, because you're cordial and you're friendly and you're willing, eager to learn, that gets you where you are. You're networking or you're not working. So
exactly. Yep.
I want to extend a special thanks to you, Carly, for taking some time out of your morning today to talk to us a little bit about U.S. Steel. Is there anything else that you want to add to our audience before we get off the call?
No, I think that really, my parting words were something that I certainly pulled out of my brain somewhere, and I definitely stand by that. So I think that's the best way that I could end it.
Thanks. So folks, I want to thank you for connecting and let you know that we're going to be posting this video of Carly on our website under the recordings tab. Now Carly works in manufacturing, so she'll be under the manufacturing tab. And I also want to say, get out there and network. Get out there and shake hands and be eager to grow. So thank you for connecting, and we hope to see you soon.